Not only was I born there, was this monster created in Long Island, but so was this one next to me, Alex.
You calling me a monster? How's it going, Shane?
What's up with Long Island?
Oh, so much. Where to start?
It's crazy. My parents are from there. Your parents from there?
No. No, my parents moved there right around when I was born.
The more I read about Long Island, the more I realize it's one big project. Like I think it's like been put there. They created it to experiment on everything possible.
Yeah, and what's weird is like if you grew up on Long Island, you probably don't leave. Like very few of us do.
Look at us. We
Here
got
we
out.
are.
But I think the experiment's
like,
still going. I think the experiment's still going. They just let us leave. You know?
They just let us.
Yeah,
They're like, okay, you don't want in, you're out.
Oh man. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I've got so many awesome messages over the past few weeks. People watching. I'm so stoked you're tuning in. We're also on Rumble right now for the first time, right? This is our first time.
Oh yes, please find us on Rumble. We're there.
Find us there. Happy to be there as well. Thank you for everyone who's been reaching out and just saying they've been watching and enjoying the show. Really appreciate that. If you can, like, subscribe, share it with everyone. That's really awesome of you all. And I'm excited about today because we're going to talk a lot about Long Island. What's going on with that? We're favorite. Also yeah. I know we talked about it a bunch, but we're going to talk about some things we haven't talked about yet when it comes to Long Island. And we have a great guest lined up. So let's actually play our introduction.
Yeah.
For our guest.
We have a burning garbage
Love
truck
this.
just in front of the county courthouse.
Yeah, have you ever witnessed a riot before? Ever see somebody die to get turned to a highlight before? Have you ever jumped to conclusions with a skateboard? Have you ever almost lose your life and had to thank the Lord? I have. I'm on that riot diet, yeah. 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 I'm on that riot diet.
Richie Maiden is present.
This is what you're not seeing.
Riot diet.
In the news right now. Just when I'm wearing a helmet.
Amazing.
Cool.
That's like the hardest intro I think anyone's had on the show so far. Let's bring on Richie. Richie McGinnis, author of Riot Diet. What is good, sir?
Riot Diet Kia. That was Spirit the rapper who produced that song. So
it's amazing.
Props to him. I was the one behind the camera though, taking the pepper balls to film it.
Incredible. I have like PTSD just seeing a lot of that stuff. But we'll get into that later on. I want to really get into, so the three of us are connected to Long Island. Are you from there or do you just have a spot up there?
So we live up there now, but I spent every summer of my life there, and then I worked out there as a surf instructor for like 7 summers.
Interesting.
And I go back there at least a couple times a year. Surf with the bros.
When did you realize it was a weird place?
Well, I was in Montauk. Well, I was teaching surfing in East Hampton, and then I was surfing at Ditch Plains afterwards when the Montauk Monster showed up, and that was like right up the beach. So I was probably about 18 when that happened.
Sure.
Sure.
We have a
2008.
picture. Okay, yeah, that is about 2008. That's crazy.
Yeah,
so
that was definitely, and that's actually part of what led me down all of the Montauk Project stuff. I read all those books.
Which picture are you in my
I grew up
here?
surfing off that radar tower. So
that's crazy.
That's there we go.
Snuck through that whole complex there many times.
I'm pulling up. Richie, you can't see it. And for those who are just listening on Spotify, you can't see it. But we are pulling up a picture of what they call the Montauk Monster.
This looks like my neighbors.
It has like a beak, claws. It's like a chicken dog.
It's disgusting.
It's really disturbing. So Richie, did you see this or were you just in the area?
I was there. So like I was surfing. I remember seeing the crowd up the beach. And by the time I got down there, like heard what happened when I came in, the monster was no longer on the beach.
Whoa.
But I talked to a bunch of people who fished it out, and they were like just clearly completely aghast with what happened. It wasn't like, they were plants or something like that.
Right.
And everybody was talking about it for the weeks after that. I mean, obviously Plum Island is right there too, which is like it was one of the most advanced biolabs in the world for a long time, and they've had a number of leaks. Let's just leave it at that.
To say the
that are
least.
documented.
Yes. Oh, of course. Okay. Before we get into Plum Island, do you remember anything that the people said that you talked to that fished out the Montauk monster?
Most of I remember there was a girl who saw it come on shore, and she was like pale white.
Whoa.
And everybody else thought that it was like a decomposed dog.
Right.
But she was the one who was like, that's something different.
Yeah.
And there was something in her eyes where I was like, this is really weird. So I started looking into that and all the other crazy stuff going on out there.
It's super weird. So you brought up Plum Island. What can you tell us about Plum Island? Okay.
So Plum Island is like, as the crow flies, it's about 12 or 14 miles from Connecticut mainland. And then it's about the same distance from the tip of Montauk. Mm-hmm. And I've actually passed by it going surfing like at Block Island, Gardiner's Island, which are around there. And even to this day, there are armed guards. And I have a buddy who had a boat that was disabled, and he tried to beach the boat there. And they were like, no, you can't come here. Call the Coast Guard, figure it out, but you're not coming here.
It was started by Nazi, I believe. I think it was an Operation Paperclip purchase, we'll say, at the end of World War II, when we hired, I want to say Eric Trow is the scientist. I could be wrong on the first name or pronouncing it wrong, but whoever it was a Nazi scientist that we took in after the World War II, and he was part of Paperclip, and he was a biowarfare guy. Because they were like, we need to do biowarfare projects right here at home. Well,
yeah, foot and mouth disease is what they were researching there.
Yes, that's right.
And they had that was leaked. And then there are also theories that Lyme's disease, Old Lyme, Connecticut, is literally 14 miles from. And I've seen deer on Plum Island. So deer swim from the mainland. It's weird to think that deer can even swim, but they can. Oh, that's weird. And so that's another theory, is that Lyme's disease escaped from there. And I've seen the argument posed. My friend Sagar Anjeti has a big YouTube show, and he posited that theory recently. And people were like, no, Lyme's disease existed before that. It was around at the turn of the century. And it's like, yeah. And like forms of COVID existed, and then they got, turned into much more virulent versions. So
yeah. I get that argument too. They'll be like, "Oh, we found Lyme disease in like what was Otzi, like the skeleton they found from thousands of years ago."
Yeah,
but I think it's a different form. I think they weaponize it because, as far as I can understand, the idea behind a lot of Plum Island stuff was to weaponize disease, and they were like, "We'll sprinkle ticks with disease on top of our enemy." And the ticks are opportunistic, blood-borne little vampires, and they're going to spread everything and destroy our enemy. Which is, have you had Lyme? Have you ever had Lyme?
No, my brother did. He had to get a PICC line to his heart. And then one of my other buddies out there, who's a hunter, he got the strain of Lyme that makes it so you're allergic to anything that has hooves, which is so weird. What? So he literally loves steak, venison, and he can't eat any of it now. And it's like, crazy. It's like I can't even joke about it with him because he's so devastated.
I'd be so, we should sue. I think RFK Jr. should expose that all this came out of Plum Island, and we can like have a class action lawsuit against the government for destroying us. I had Lyme, and my whole life I was kind of worried about Lyme. I just not worried, but like conscious of the fact that I might get it. I grew up on a farm in the woods, and you get a tick on you. There's lots of ticks that don't have it, I know, but I was always very conscious of the fact like I got to check and get myself, rid myself of these ticks. And it wasn't until I was about 31 where I got Lyme, and it made me. I had 105-degree fever, and I couldn't tell you what day it was or what year it was, and I was driven to the ER. And the doctor said he could feel my heat from the hallway. And I mean, it was the worst pain I'd ever been in. And I just knew at some point when I was like in and out of consciousness, I'm like, this is Lyme.
Did they give you an IV?
Yeah, they gave me an IV. Yeah, they gave me like the doxycycline because this is like, they were like, you can't be in the sunlight. It's like a weird drug. Don't go in the sun.
No, it's really strong. Yeah, that's what my brother had to.
It's
like
disgusting.
a PICC line straight to his heart, doc, just straight in there, and his skin was breaking out. It was bad.
So I'm just saying that all to say, like, the only other bioweapon that I've experienced quite like that was one that perhaps left a place called Wuhan, and it affected me in weird, similar ways. You never heard of it? It might be coming back. Get ready for round 2. But so Plum Island, this monster that washed ashore, considering how close it was to Plum Island, a lot of people were saying this is something that came from there because the official story was we're experimenting on animals. Like you said, hand, foot, mouth, and all that stuff. Did you hear about the story of the body, the human body that washed ashore?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I remember. I just like looking back. I don't recall like a police report, but I do remember. I mean, there's crazy stuff going on out there,
and it's closed now, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Right. Like last I heard is that it closed down. I think just a year or two ago, and I think it's in Kansas now, which is why. Right in the middle.
Well, that's
of
what
the
they say.
country.
It's closed down, but as recently as a year ago, I've seen armed guards there.
Oh,
so who knows? I mean, then again, that radar system that's out there. So for the viewers, not only is there Plum Island right there, but also there was a massive battery system of artillery to defend the coastline. And actually, the only place where the Nazis made a mainland invasion was in Amagansett, which is only like 7 miles down the coast. And so a U-boat plopped a bunch of spies right on the beach there, and they have like a little plaque now. But a couple of them made it all the way to D.C., but one guy got caught and ratted the rest of them out.
wow,
And I think a couple of them were put to death.
wow.
But so the Nazis like landed there, and then also there's this huge base, and the most advanced radar system in the world in the 1950s is this surf spot called Radar Towers. It's right up in the bluffs by Montauk Lighthouse at the very end of the island. And they, according to the government, it was shut down in like the 60s, but there was I have evidence that they were pulling $100,000 a month in electricity bill from LIPA off the grid. There were definitely accounts of soldiers out there who were still on the base, and the barracks were still full. So according to the government, it was like owned by the Air Force, and then it was turned over to the Park Police in the 80s. But it's like we don't really have any documents telling us what they were doing there. It was very advanced radar system.
It's like
apparently there's a sub base off the back in Navy Beach.
They always just rebrand and then just let it be more of a secret elsewhere. You know, they're like, oh, we closed it down, but we're doing it over here now, underground, you know? That's the weird thing about that. You bringing up the radar stuff reminds me of we'll build out a little bit on weird Long Island lore. Tesla chose Long Island.
Yes.
To build his giant tower. I think it was like half the size of the Statue of Liberty that he was trying to turn Earth into a conductor for free energy. That's a bummer that's not there anymore, right?
Yeah, so that's like about an hour and 45 minutes west of Montauk, more close to the city. But J.P. Morgan was one of Tesla's primary advisors, and obviously he also supported Edison, and Edison came up with electricity through. I mean, if you have free energy that's coming out of the air, then you can't make money off of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether or not the free energy was actually achieved, we don't have concrete evidence of that, but what we do know is that JP Morgan basically sandbagged Tesla.
Oh yeah.
And they destroyed that tower. So
that's right. Yeah. It'd be interesting. I have a feeling that we did achieve it and they just don't want us to know.
And there's newspaper accounts of Tesla claiming that he traveled through time.
That's right.
And that he also claimed that the Martians gave him all his ideas.
That's right. Yeah. And then for those who've listened to the show, they know that when he died, Donald Trump's uncle,
Freddie Trump,
took all of Tesla's stuff and said, none of it's harmful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love telling my friends that, and when they don't know, I'm like, and who do you think cleared out Tesla's apartment after he died?
It's so strange. I mean, the whole thing is so strange. The fact,
it's John Trump.
It's John. Yeah, right. Because the J in Donald J. Trump is John. You know, after. Oh, that's what I was thinking of. Before we were going live, I was thinking about MIT, and I had in my research, somehow MIT came up. I'm like, what was the MIT connection here that I wanted to talk about? John Trump was an MIT professor.
Yes.
And that's what it was. And then he was, I think it was called like the Alien Retrieval Department or something like that, because it was for like illegal aliens basically. And Tesla wasn't illegal. I think, you know, he did become a citizen, but John Trump was told to be in charge of it, go get all his stuff, get his time travel machine, and learn how to use it and build a bunch. And that's how Barron Trump time travels now.
Exactly.
Right?
We solved it.
That's
there
it.
you go. Show's over.
Baron will be on next week.
Every episode.
Yeah.